You did everything right last night. You were in bed by 10. No screens. The room was dark and cool. You gave yourself a full 8 hours. And you still woke up tired. If that sounds familiar, I want to tell you something that might change how you think about sleep. The problem was probably never the 8 hours. Japan sleeps less than almost any country on Earth, around 6 hours a night. And somehow, the Japanese live longer than almost everyone. Now, I'm not going to tell you that sleeping less makes you live longer. It doesn't, but the Japanese relationship with sleep is so different from ours that looking at it might fix something you didn't know was broken. Let me start with something uncomfortable. In the West, sleep has quietly become another thing to be perfect at. We track it, we score it. We get a number from a ring or a watch in the morning. And if the number is bad, the whole day feels like it is starting at a deficit. We've turned rest, the most natural thing in the world, into a performance. And here is the strange part. All of this effort, all of this tracking and optimizing and worrying has happened at the exact same time that people report sleeping worse than ever. That is not a coincidence. Japan, for the most part, never did this. Sleep there is treated less like a project and more like weather. Sometimes you get a lot. Sometimes you get a little. You don't fight it. You don't grade it. And that one difference in attitude changes everything that follows. I want to walk you through 4 things about how Japan actually rests. And, I'll be honest, the first one is going to sound almost impossible to a Western mind. A quick note before we start. I'm not a doctor, and sleep problems can be real and serious. If you genuinely can't sleep, please talk to someone qualified. This isn't medical advice. It is a different way of looking at rest. Let's start with a word you've probably never heard. Inemuri. It translates very loosely to sleeping while present. And it describes something that would get you fired in most Western offices. In Japan, it is completely acceptable, sometimes even respected, to fall asleep in public. On the train, in a meeting, at your desk. A Westerner sees someone asleep at their desk and thinks, lazy. A Japanese person sees the same thing and often thinks, that person worked so hard they ran out of energy. Inemuri isn't seen as failing at being awake. It is seen as proof that you gave everything to the day. Now, I'm not telling you to nap in your next meeting. Please don't. But sit with what this attitude actually means. In Japan, sleep is allowed to happen wherever the body needs it. It doesn't have to be saved up and spent in one perfect 8-hour block at night. In the West, we've decided sleep only counts if it happens in bed, in the dark, all at once. And if your body wants rest at 2 in the afternoon, you fight it with coffee. The Japanese body gets to say, I'm tired, and the culture answers, then rest, briefly. Here, the lesson underneath Inemuri isn't about napping at work. It is this: your tiredness is not a character flaw to push through. It is information, and a life that lets you listen to it is a calmer life. Here's the second thing, and it might genuinely surprise you. The idea that every human needs exactly 8 hours of sleep is not an ancient truth. It is not even a particularly old one. For most of human history, sleep was not one single block. A lot of historical records describe what is sometimes called segmented sleep. People slept for a few hours, woke up in the night for a quiet hour, then slept again. Waking in the night was normal. It wasn't insomnia. It wasn't a problem. The rigid 8-hour block, in bed, uninterrupted, is partly a product of the modern industrial world. We needed workers on a fixed schedule, so rest got standardized too. Now, think about what that does to a person. You wake up at 3 in the morning, completely normally, and because you've been told 8 unbroken hours is the rule. You panic, you check the clock, you start doing math. You ruin the rest of the night. The waking up was never the problem. The belief that waking up is wrong, that is the problem. Japan, broadly, holds sleep more loosely. And a person who isn't afraid of waking in the night tends to fall back asleep far more easily. Quick pause here. If you have ever woken up at 3 a.m. and immediately felt a wave of dread about being awake, type the word Inemuri in the comments. I think a huge number of us have trained ourselves to panic at a completely normal thing. And it helps to see we're not alone in it. This third part is the most important thing in the video. There is a cruel little trap built into how the West thinks about sleep. The more you want to sleep, the harder it becomes. Sleep is one of the only things in life that runs away the moment you chase it. You cannot force sleep. You cannot try your way into it. Trying is a kind of alertness, and alertness is the opposite of sleep. So, picture the modern bedtime. A person lies down already worried, already calculating, already monitoring. Am I asleep yet? How long has it been? I have to be up in 6 hours. Now, 5.5. Every one of those thoughts is a small jolt of stress. And stress is the exact chemical state that keeps the body awake. We have, without meaning to, built a bedtime routine out of the one ingredient that prevents sleep. The Japanese approach, at its calmest, sidesteps the whole trap. Rest is treated as something that arrives, not something you achieve. You lie down, you let the day be over, and if sleep comes, good. And if it takes a while, that is fine too, because lying calmly in the dark is itself a kind of rest. The moment you stop grading your sleep, you remove the exact pressure that was breaking it. The last idea is about the small rest, Hirune, the Japanese daytime nap. A short nap in Japan isn't seen as a sign of weakness or a wasted afternoon. It is seen as practical, even smart. And here's what matters. A good nap is short, around 20 minutes. Long enough to take the edge off. Short enough that you don't fall into deep sleep and wake up groggy. What a short nap really does is reset the nervous system. It is less about the hours of sleep and more about how often you let your body come down from stress. This is the quiet theme under everything we've talked about. The West focuses almost entirely on one number: total hours. Japan, in its older habits, pays more attention to something else: recovery, frequency, calm. A body that gets to rest a little, often, and without anxiety, is often in better shape than a body that gets 8 anxious hours and nothing else. It was never only about the length of the night. It was about how much fear you attached to it. So here is the whole picture. In Inemuri, rest is allowed to happen wherever your body asks for it. The 8-hour rule. It is a modern invention, not a law of nature. The trap. The harder you chase sleep, the faster it runs. So, stop chasing. Hirune, a short, calm rest, often beats one long anxious night. None of this is permission to ignore real exhaustion. If you are genuinely worn down, that matters, and it deserves real care. But here is what I want you to take to bed tonight. For a lot of us, the thing stealing our sleep was never a missing hour. It was the fear, the tracking, the math at 3 a.m., the quiet sense of failing at rest. Japan's real secret was never sleeping less. It was worrying less, holding the whole thing more gently. Tonight, when you lie down, try giving yourself one permission. You don't have to achieve sleep. You just have to stop fighting it. One last thing before I go. I'd love to know, what time does your mind usually wake you up? And what does it like to worry about at that hour? Tell me below. I have a feeling a lot of us are awake at the same time. And if this gave you a calmer way to think about rest, subscribe to Mochi School. We have a lot more quiet things to talk about. Sleep well or don't. Either way, you'll be okay. I'll see you in the next one.